The ODP Corporation, better known simply as Office Depot, is one of America's biggest office supply retailers. The Florida-based company has been around for several decades, but in recent years, it has been forced to continually downsize. The company could disappear altogether in a few years, and here are 10 reasons why Office Depot will likely cease to exist. With its headquarters located in Boca Raton, Office Depot is one of South Florida's largest public companies with nearly $11 billion in annual sales. It is also one of South Florida's few Fortune 500 firms, but with profits continuously dropping over the past 5 years, the company has also dropped down around 100 spots on the Fortune 500 list within just the past 3 years, now being ranked at 297. If this trend continues much longer, Office Depot will not only see itself being removed from the Fortune 500 list, but is also on the best way of being wiped off the face of the earth. Office Depot launched in 1986 when they opened a single store in Lauderdale Lakes and ended up building an empire on the idea that people wanted to buy office supplies on nights and weekends and at big stores with low prices. At the time, buying office supplies such as typewriter ribbons or copy paper normally meant shopping at an independent retailer, and those stores typically worked only between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. They also charged hefty markups and usually didn't do any kind of marketing. Michael Fewer, co-founder of Office Max, also remembered how they didn't bother to unpack the product. He said, "The product would be in a plain brown box. The office supply stores took things out of the brown box and put them on a shelf so people could see them and touch them. We created a sense of drama and theater in the store." Office Max opened with a store in Mayfield Heights, Ohio, 2 years after Office Depot and Staples, which also started in 1986, with a store in Brighton, Massachusetts. All 3 stores were part of that innovation, which may seem an obvious thing to do from today's perspective, but was a breakthrough at the time. Since then, the big 3 office supply retailers have been racing each other, and by 2007, Staples, Office Depot, and Office Max ran a combined 4,000 stores and raked in more than $40 billion in sales. However, the innovation in the industry only lasted around a decade, as Fewer explained, and then it ended. While that alone wasn't enough to bring down either Office Depot or the other 2 retailers, a new innovation might do just that, because today's consumers prefer to buy their office supplies online rather than at a strip mall. As mentioned, Office Depot was one of the pioneers in the industry of office supply retailers, but after years of being one of the leaders in the market, the company now operates on extremely thin margins, while managing around 1,300 locations, which are quite expensive due to employee and real estate expenses. The company also failed to make the necessary changes, and the lack of modernization and innovation became quite obvious following the appointment of Steve Odland as Office Depot CEO in 2005. Based on his success at AutoZone, investors believed Odland could close the gap with Staples. Unfortunately, he only made little changes, boasting that he cut expenses by putting energy-efficient lights in Office Depot stores, shortening cash register receipts, and changing shopping bag dispensers. While all these changes are surely helpful on a small scale, they weren't enough to truly make a difference. Things haven't been going too well for Office Depot for a couple of decades now, and according to Michael Fewer, one of the reasons for the industry's declining sales was its building sprees, as Office Depot, Office Max, and Staples tried to steal one another's customers by opening more and more locations. As a result, they suddenly had hundreds of competing stores located near each other. Fewer explained that the 3 big players in the industry all made the same mistake, which eventually backfired. He said, "We opened way too many stores, way too big. We thought, if 20,000 square feet is good, 40,000 must be twice as good." In 2013, Office Depot and Office Max signed a merger and soon announced the closure of 400 stores due to declining sales and customer migration to e-retailers. In 2007, Office Depot then announced that it was planning on closing 300 locations over the next 3 years. In a statement, the chain store explained that this plan was part of a $250 million cost savings program, which also involved optimizing its US retail stores, putting a more effective customer coverage model into action, and lowering indirect procurement costs as well as general and administrative costs. This could have potentially been a good attempt at turning things around, but unfortunately, it came a little too late and clearly wasn't enough to make a big difference. Since 2017's mission wasn't enough to turn things around, Office Depot announced another restructuring plan in May 2020. According to the company's SEC filings, the new plan included closing stores and laying off about 13,000 employees by 2023. The office supply giant expected to save $860 million by the end of 2023 by realigning their operational focus to support our business-to-business solutions and IT services business units and improve costs. As a spokesperson told Fox Business, the company was also hoping to sustain charges of about $543 million according to the filings, and while they were still evaluating the exact number of store locations and distribution facilities it could close, this all came in the early days of the ongoing crisis. Although they didn't mention their restructuring plan being influenced by the coronavirus pandemic that has heavily affected the national and state economies, Office Depot had withdrawn their original financial estimates for 2020 only a few days before announcing their restructuring program, citing the uncertainties of business disruptions worldwide due to the pandemic. As mentioned earlier, Office Depot has been running a race with Office Max and Staples since the late 1980s, and was running third for the longest time. In addition to that, they also have to compete with smaller business centers in Sam's Clubs and Costco's. Despite merging with Office Max in 2013, Office Depot seems to be a likely candidate to be taken over by one of its rivals, or even by a broader retail chain like Target. The company already agreed to a sale to Staples once before, with the larger rival being prepared to pay $6 billion for the takeover back in 2016. Had federal trustbusters approved the deal, the combined company would have been based in Staples' current headquarters in Massachusetts, and the Office Depot name would have disappeared from strip malls all across the country. While Office Depot was ready to sell itself to Staples, regulators ultimately blocked the deal. Then, in January 2017, Gary Smith was named as the company's new CEO, effective February 27th, and later that same year, Office Depot announced that it had acquired CompuCom for $1 billion as part of its transformation. As a result, the company saw a 34% increase in its service revenues during the fourth quarter of 2018, and the purchase also allowed Office Depot to enter the $25 billion technology services market. The company promised its shareholders that the acquisition of CompuCom and the consolidation of their operations would save more than $40 million in 2019. The deal was no doubt a smart move, but in the long run, Office Depot will most likely still face being acquired by a bigger company itself. The market is simply too competitive for the retailer to stand on its own, and merging with another company would allow to cut costs by consolidating operations and cut thousands of people and close hundreds of locations, meaning operating margins could end up being a lot higher than they are at the moment. With the appointment of Gary Smith as the new CEO, Office Depot seemed to start making a little progress in innovating the company. The deal with CompuCom reflected his decision to focus more on services and on small and medium-sized businesses. Due to the modernization and digitization of offices and the resulting decrease in demand for traditional office supplies, Office Depot, just like rivals Staples, have struggled with decreasing retail business demand. In addition to that, consumers increasingly use online retailers like Amazon to buy office supplies, but fortunately, Office Depot as well as Staples reacted in due time. Both big office supply chains embraced online selling and built large online operations, but Office Depot once again failed to win the race. Thanks to large orders from corporate clients, Staples didn't just beat out its closest rival in the office supply industry, but actually managed to become the third largest internet retailer in 2013 after Amazon and Apple. While they are nowhere near those numbers in the latest ranking, Staples still tops Office Depot. As mentioned, Gary Smith breathed some new life into Office Depot, and last year the company made another smart move when it struck a deal with China's Alibaba Group. The office supplies chain and Alibaba's international wholesale marketplace, Alibaba.com, announced that they had signed a strategic collaboration to create a one-stop shop that would do more than just providing office supplies for small and medium-sized US businesses. Through a co-branded online business-to-business wholesale marketplace, each company would be able to benefit from from the other's strength. As Smith said in an interview, this collaboration marked a bigger step for Office Depot than even the CompuCom deal on their way to transforming their business model. He said, "It provides a new channel and new choice for our customers. It's a whole platform of goods and manufacturers for businesses. We aren't abandoning retail, but we need to have a B2B platform." When Smith joined Office Depot from Lenovo Group in 2017, around half of Office Depot's revenue came from B2B business, and within a couple of years, it increased to 70%. There is no doubt that Smith's plan is doing wonders for the company, but they are obviously not the only ones revising and transforming their business model, and it will be hard to fend off competition from Staples and other big retailers. Amazon started out as an online bookstore back in 1994, but eventually ventured into other directions as well, and today it is the biggest online retailer. In 2012, the company took aim at the struggling office supply industry, unveiling a B2B website that specifically targets office-centric organizations, and making things even more complicated for brick-and-mortar businesses. Office Depot, as well as Staples and OfficeMax, took a big hit, but the three chains were already facing extinction before Amazon came around. Their biggest problem is that there is no need to go to a store to buy office supplies, since you don't need to check out a stapler or touch paper before buying it. Despite Office Depot merging with one of their biggest rivals, they have closed nearly half of their stores since the merger, and it is very likely that office supply stores like Staples and Office Depot are going to close in the next few years. They may continue to exist online, but even with Office Depot currently heading in the right direction, it seems almost inevitable that they will eventually lose their last race and either disappear or end up being acquired by a bigger retailer.
Thank you for checking this video out, and don't forget to smash that like button and also subscribe for new videos every day. Turn that bell notification on and comment down below that you subscribed, and we'll make sure to reply and thank as many of you as we possibly can. Once again, thank you for watching and see you next time.